Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very unique session today that we're going to have talking about mindset in the MBA application. I am Susan Berishaj, for those of you who are new to this channel, and I am really, really excited to have Nancy here with me today to talk about mindset, particularly EFT, and how to use it to help you with your test scores, to help you with MBA applications, how to see yourself in the process of presenting yourself to business schools. Before we get started, I just want to do a few logistical components. We are on numerous different platforms, and we'll be monitoring those for questions. I invite everyone to ask questions along the way. This is a different style of a session than I typically do, so it's really more of a conversation, and please feel free to ask questions as we go through the different different discussions that we have prepared. Before we dive into those, I just wanted to remind you that if you're new to this channel and you want to see all things related to MBA application, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll be notified about our future events, and you will also can watch replays and a lot of content that we have in there related to the MBA application process. This Thursday is my usual session, and I'll be talking about the presenting your MBA resume or putting together your MBA resume. So please register for that event. I'm going to show the registration in the chat and on the screen, and or you can go to our website, cadmissions.com/events, and see all the events that we have planned, and it's always updating. So perfect. So let's dive right in. I'm just going to hide that for the moment. So let's dive right in and have this conversation. Before we dive in again, I will introduce Nancy. So Nancy is an EFT professional. She's been doing this for a number of years, and I'll have her talk more about that, how she got started. But she has created the MVP Activator, which is a program focusing on helping particularly women entrepreneurs overcome common blocks in their in the process of building their entrepreneurial venture. Nancy is a Harvard Law trained lawyer, attorney, and is also has been for 17 years a therapist that has supported many individuals along the process of mindset. So Nancy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for being willing to have this conversation. I'm so excited. First question that I think is in everyone's mind, because our community really likes Harvard. So why did you decide to leave practicing law and really do this? Focusing on EFT specifically?
Well, I mean, it was not even a hard choice, even though I'd been to Harvard Law School. I'd practiced for 9 years in Chicago, and it was just very clear to me that that was not my path. Mm-hmm. And if for those who don't know, law and lawyers have one of the highest levels of depression of any of the professions. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the only one who's left law. But I wanted to go and help people basically stop fighting. I mean, I wanted them to feel good. I wanted to do some healing work for people. Mm-hmm. That's not what law is about. So I went back to school and I became a therapist, a talk therapist. My particular degree was a master's in marriage and family therapy. And then I started practicing therapy and did that for over 17 years, which doesn't include the maternity leave I took off in the middle there for like 3 years. But as I was practicing therapy, which was better, I mean, better for who I am and what I do, I noticed there was still something missing. I had added this little coaching practice on the side where I was helping people kind of figure out what they wanted to do with their lives. The career change was a big piece of it. A lot of times people wanted to have new businesses. That was what they really wanted to do. And so I sort of slid into helping people with business issues, primarily mindset issues. I mean, I don't know accounting from anything, so I wasn't helping them with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I was helping them with what they needed to believe in themselves, to be able to create the businesses that they wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I mean, this was just a little side hustle while I was being a therapist. And I had learned tapping at one of the trainings to get a CEU for being a therapist. And I brought the tapping in for my clients, my coaching clients, who could not seem to follow through on their goals. I mean, we'd set a goal together, and they knew what the steps were to get there, and they had put them on the calendar basically, and we were meeting every week or two. This is accountability coaching 101. It's just basically what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And every week they'd come back and say, well, I didn't get to that, or, oh, I did it, but I kind of blew it. I messed it up. And I got really curious about that. So I brought in the tapping from the therapy world to help these clients uncover what was going on. And over and over and over again, we found out that there was some sort of subconscious rule or belief or fear that was getting triggered by going after their goal, their dream. And so then using the tapping, we could get rid of that. And so that was how I ultimately found what I'm supposed to do, and then finally left behind the whole therapy practice and went into the coaching full time.
Yeah, I love that. It's also such an inspiring story because we oftentimes are taught that you have one path and you go from point A to point B to point C, but life is a little bit different as long as you are seeing patterns. And, you know, Carol Dweck talks about this growth mindset, like looking for ways to solve problems, right? And one of the problems that you were driven to solve is this mindset. So I love it. So maybe we can dive right in and talk about what is EFT for our audience, who I've had many conversations leading to this session, and oftentimes I had to explain what EFT is. So why not ask you specifically?
Okay. Excuse me. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And what it is basically a tool that you can use to do a bunch of things, but you're manipulating, tapping, or rubbing on these points that are some of the same points that are used in acupuncture or acupressure, but no needles. And what it does, and this is what Western science shows, it downregulates the amygdala. So in effect, it's sending a message of safety and calm to the mid part of your brain. That's where the fight, flight, or freeze response gets triggered. And so it is really can be useful for those stressful moments when your thinking brain shuts down. That's what happens in the fight, flight, or freeze response. And so when you're tapping, you release that stress. It lowers your cortisol levels, and it opens up your prefrontal cortex so you can think again.
Yeah.
So it can be really great for those moments. But I think of it as a much more powerful method than just, a way to relax.
Yeah.
You can use the tapping on any of the steps, say in the MBA application process.
Yeah, MVP is your program. MBA is the application.
Yeah. Now, what am I talking about? Okay. But in an application to get into any program, but especially, the MBA one, which is so stressful, you can figure out where you might have some subconscious blocks to doing your best before you get into it, and tap and release those blocks so that they don't sabotage your performance.
Absolutely. So I think I was having conversations with some of my friends, and one of the topic of conversations, because these are the kinds of conversations I like to have, is how do we discern what is the thing? Like, as we grow older, we realize that there's many different past experiences that have shaped us, influenced us, have been trigger marks or have left trigger marks. And particularly for the audience that we have here, how are they supposed to, or how are we supposed to discern what can we do fast? Because applications are due in September, right? How do we discern what are some of the blocks and ways that we can decide which one is the priority over another?
Sure. Well, it can be hard to know what your own blocks are, but I can give you some ways to look at it. Pretty much, if you're not doing as well as you know you're capable of, that's pointing, it's a sign that you have a subconscious block that's getting in the way. To figure out what that block is, well, I mean, you could go to someone like me to help you uncover it, but if you want to figure it out yourself, you could look at what you say to yourself, particularly when you make a mistake. What are those nasty things you say to yourself? Like, oh, I'm such a loser, or it could be something like, I'll never get into Stanford or Wharton, or who do I think I am to even apply? Things like that can be, I'm thinking of specific ones to the business school application, but it could also be more general, like, oh, I'm just not good enough, I'm not supposed to succeed. It could be like if you're going into an interview for that, like, oh, if I speak up, I'll be criticized. That might get triggered, even though consciously you know that you have to speak up. It's an essential piece of what you're doing and what they're looking for. So it could end up be that your consciousness and your subconscious are fighting. You can feel that way that it's getting in your way of doing what you know you can do.
Yeah.
Another way you might want to use to call up a block is to think about getting into the program that's your number one pick. Okay, say it's Harvard, okay. And you think, okay, I'm getting into Harvard. I got into Harvard. And you just notice if anything negative comes up. It could be a negative thought, like, well, that's impossible. That would be a negative thought that comes up, and that would be representing your block there. It could also be a physical reaction, like, you get a drop in the pit of your stomach, like, or emotion, like guilt or fear. Oh, I'm not supposed to. Oh, no. And so any of those negative reactions can point to your subconscious block. And then you can tap on whatever negative reaction you have, even if you're not entirely certain why you felt guilty. You can just tap on that guilty feeling. Now, from my standpoint, the guilty feeling would probably be something around, oh, it's not right. I'm not supposed to outshine my parents, for example, or it's not fair to other people if I get this great opportunity. That might be the words that go with it. But you can just simply tap on the guilty feeling to bring it down.
Yeah. Could you feel also sort of like a physical reaction from the perspective of like sweating, or like you did mention, like this sort of a feeling in your stomach, right? Is there any other reactions that applicants or people can feel when they are being triggered?
Sure. Well, basically, I mean, we can get a little nervous about anything.
Yeah.
And your nervous reaction, if that includes the sweaty palms, well, there you are. But you can tap on that. But I'm thinking of something a little bit more like bigger. And it can be anything physical. I mean, I had one woman who had a reaction, and this wasn't for an application. It was for calling up people, cold calling people for her job. And she would have this horrible twisting feeling in her gut. And we just traced it back to when she first had that feeling. And that was when she was dealing with a really toxic boss. And we tapped on some of those experiences. So in general nervousness, that's when you can just tap, oh, I'm a little nervous here. I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous. You can tap on that and bring the nervousness down. But for something that goes back to like a block, something in your subconscious saying, don't do this. It's not safe. It's not right. That's when I would tap on that. So
that triggers. Sorry, I interrupted.
So I was just saying, if you were doing it on your own, you could tap for this twisting feeling in my gut. So.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, and I mean, applicants that are going through the MBA application. I mean, obviously, like there's a variety of different backgrounds and spectrums that people come to apply. Some of those are, I'm not like this preconceived notion that you're just not good at tests. Not as preconceived. I'm sure that there's backstories around it, but there is that element of I'm just not good at tests. So we're already deciding what you're good at or you're not good at. Or I don't have a traditional background, therefore I don't belong in this community. I'm not good enough, right? Who do I think I am to go to Stanford, go to Harvard, go to Wharton, and any of the schools that are dream schools for applicants going through this? Those are things that they can tap on, right?
Absolutely. And I would tap on that before you get into doing something important. Because if you've got that, if you're even consciously aware of it, then it's there slowing you down. It may not stop you, but it's still going to slow you down. And why not let go of that so that you can go full on after what you want?
Yeah. Oftentimes it's I think this is a good moment for everyone that's watching us live or replay of this to just remember to check your thoughts. What are you thinking about? And are those some of the blockers that you are experiencing? Because we have a tendency of thinking in a certain way and just going with it, right? And sometimes we need to just really like assess our thinking process and decide from there what to do. Okay, so how, I guess before we go into a tapping technique that perhaps we can show the audience, what does it look like to tap? What are some of the benefits that you see and how fast do you see those benefits? So like if I have an interview tomorrow or if I have to submit my application tomorrow, is today a right time to tap, right? How long do you see results?
Frankly, if you get rid of a subconscious block, it's gone. It's not coming back. So you don't have to like time the tapping right before an event. Just get rid of the block whenever you can, and then you're okay. However, if you're a little nervous about something, you might want to tap right before you go in to the thing, just for the nervousness itself. And you can do this cool thing. I'll just show you right here. You put your thumb against the side of your index finger at about the level of the base of the fingernail. You make little circles there. Call this Buddha hands. You're activating like maybe 4 spots, 4 acupoints, and sending that message of safety and calm to your brain. And you put your hands on your lap, and no one's going to notice you doing it. And you're actually getting the benefit right there in the middle of something.
Oh, interesting. So if someone is going to an interview, this is going to be something important to rewatch. You're going to an interview, the Buddha hands, right? Does it matter what you do with the other fingers? Like, do they have to be straight, curved?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't, so long as you do this, right?
Yep.
Like I'm holding it right, like that. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, it's just on the side of the finger.
Oh, side of it.
So not on the front of the finger. It's on the side of the finger next to the fingernail. Can like you see what I'm doing?
Yeah,
exactly. Like and if making those circles is too much, you can just hold it.
Got it. Okay, perfect. All right. So Buddha hands is something that we're gonna practice in the future. Awesome. All right. So let's do a tapping. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah. Awesome.
So I was thinking, now ordinarily, if I'm working one-on-one with somebody, I'm going to go after the cause of an issue, and we're going to tap and release the negative statement, the block. But since this is for everyone, I'm trying to think of a way that can help people get some benefits from the tapping that are going to help them with, say, the test. Let's do test, because that one comes up for a lot of people. Test anxiety.
A lot of applicants are going through testing right now. So for round 1, so this is perfect.
Okay, so first of all, let me teach you the tapping points. So Susan, tap along with me. So you're going to want to take 2 fingers and tap on the side of your hand under the little finger between the knuckle and the wrist, right there on that fleshy part. You tap there for a while we say something, and then the next spot, you're tapping about as hard as if you were drumming your fingertips on a tabletop. So don't whiff it, but don't hurt yourself either. It's just solid. Okay.
You're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's the pressure you're going to want to use on all the points. So right where one of your eyebrows starts, the side of your eye, under your eye, between your nose and your lip, on that line on your chin. So don't try to make a dimple here, just right under your lip. The rest of the points you could do with 2 fingers, but it can be hard to find the spots. So let's do it the easy way. Make a fist, and with the flat part of your knuckles, go where a man would knot his tie. I've got a microphone there, so I'm not going to actually do it because that would deafen everyone. Then take all 4 fingers, go about 4 inches down from your armpit on your side.
Like that.
And the last one is right on the top of your head. Now, everybody keep tapping while I'm talking, because you're going to want to remember these spots, and the more you do it, the easier it is to remember them. Like I say, if I'm working one-on-one, I'm going to be looking for any subconscious blocks, the statements about not doing well on a test. And we would tap down the bigger blocks, and as they fall, lesser ones would come with them, and that would make it easier. Maybe we'd go look at some memories of taking tests that were tough. But because we're going to, and usually we're working on the negative.
Yeah.
But this time, what I'm going to do is walk you through the process of seeing yourself take the exam. I want you to see yourself doing it really well. The tapping that you're doing is going to sort of whittle away at any of the rough points. It's going to get at the negative so that you can stay in the positive. So I'll walk you through visualizing, it's the GMAT, right?
GMAT, yeah. Or the GRE.
Yeah, okay. Or the G, okay. Whichever one it is. I'm going to walk you through the steps. And what I want you to do is, if you feel ready with these tapping points, you can either close your eyes or just look off with a soft focus in the distance. If you need to keep watching me to see where the points are, that's fine. But whenever you feel comfortable with it, go ahead and just let yourself drift off. So you're really into the visualization. Okay. So you're going to visualize yourself doing all these steps really smoothly and easily. So let's start with the check-in. So let's say you walk into a building, if you're not doing it at home, and maybe you have to get in line to have them check you off on their list. And you show them your ID and you sign the papers they give you. And you put everything you've got into a locker, because you can't take anything in with you, right?
Yeah.
And then you walk into that testing room. You find a seat. Maybe you hang your jacket on the back of your chair. You notice some other people coming in, taking their spots. Maybe you recognize a few, most of them you don't know. But you see the person go up to the front of the room and they talk through the rules. No talking to anyone about the exam, no using your phone, keep your own eyes on your own computer. You cannot check any notes or study materials at any time, including at the break, whatever. They're telling you all these rules. And then you're signing in to the computer to get ready to start. And then comes the message, begin. Take a good breath, and you start reading that first question. And you focus on it, and you go through the different questions, and some are going to be easy. Some are going to take you a while to figure out the answer. And some you're going to have no idea at all, so you just guess. That's the way it is with standardized tests. I don't know if you do any essays, but if you do that, you can gather your thoughts and see the basic format of what you want to say. And then you get in there and you write. And as you're taking this test, you're checking the time periodically. How am I doing? Am I on track? And you keep going until there's going to be a break, that's called. Go to the bathroom, get some water, take some deep breaths. And then it's back and you start again with some more questions. And you don't know how to answer all of those questions, but that's okay. You know that that's just normal. You do your best. And you know a lot of it. And if you start to feel like your mind's going a little blank, you look up from your computer screen, you take a couple of deep breaths. Maybe you do a bit of tapping, maybe a bit of Buddha hands. And then when you're ready, you go back to the questions and answer them the best way you can. And finally, time's up. You get the message. You take your hands off the keyboard. You sit back, and you know You did the best you could, and you feel very proud of yourself.
Mm.
Okay. When you're ready, I want you to take a deep breath, stop the tapping, and open up your eyes.
I had my eyes open all the time, but
Yeah.
but whoever is watching and it's either here live or watching a replay can definitely go through this process and replay this video time and again while you get the guidance.
Yeah.
That was very relaxing, I found.
Good. And that's the idea, because you want to go into the test relaxed with your mind, available to you. And I was just thinking, if for somebody who's watching this, if they know that there's a point where they tend to freeze up, like for some people, if like on an airplane flight, it's turbulence. So you would tap while thinking about turbulence. Well, for this, if for you, it's that first question. I know that I tend to just shut down. Well, then you would want to tap more, thinking about those first moments with the first question. So
yeah. So it's a good way to also realize where the blocks are. So if you're visualizing this, right, and then you can come back and go through the same tapping on the thing that you notice as a block.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Excellent. So hopefully those watching have participated along. I know these moves are not something you see on the street, but comfort of your own home, no one's watching you. You can do it, and obviously to help you. What are some of the benefits that you see people that you've helped? And I know they're not MBA applicants themselves, but what are the benefits that you immediately see or your clients have reported in the past?
Well, we talked about the MVP activator that I have, and MVP clubs. That's 3 areas where I've seen big changes with clients. So P stands for profitability. So all things money, making more money, holding on to more money. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes it's allowing yourself to spend money. So anything having to do with money is the P. Visibility is V. So that's talking to bigger audiences, maybe getting a book out, maybe releasing videos. And then M stands for everything else that can get in the way of a business owner. But usually what it comes up there is allowing yourself greater ease, and hiring somebody, delegating to them, allowing yourself to take vacations. And so that's what often comes up in M. So MVP, mindset, visibility, and profitability.
Yeah. And so is it oftentimes that we feel like we have to do everything on our own? Is that
yeah. Oh, that's a big one in mindset, particularly for women. I have to do everything myself. I have to get everything right. And that can stop you completely, because no one's ever perfect. There's a lot around taking care of everybody else. That those all come in that mindset area. And once we've tapped and released them, it's like they go away. They don't come back. Unless you hit a different level, which triggers a different type of that kind of reaction. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely many layers to the onion. Awesome. Okay, great. Guys, if you want to have your questions answered, if you participated in this exercise, and if you experience anything, this is the time to write your question down in the chat so that we can answer it. But we did get a few questions, if it's okay, Nancy, to ask through the registration form. Some of them you've answered in the process of our discussion, so let me just go through them. So what are the signs that people can notice after using this EFT technique, that should tell them that actually that was a trigger that was blocking you, and now this technique works for you?
Well, one of the really cool things is sometimes when you've released it, you forget you even had the block before. You no longer have that reaction, but it's normal to you not having that reaction. And so you don't even realize you made that big change, which is the coolest thing. It's called the apex effect. But what I encourage my clients to do is to look for shifts. So we've done some tapping on some block. It's come way down. And then I ask them to notice over the next week or two if they've had any shifts in the ways they're thinking. difference. I used to think this is impossible, and now it's like, well, I can do this. Shifts in the way they're feeling. I used to be really stressed out about this and worried, and now it's just like, oh, it's okay, I'll be fine. It could be shifts in the actions you take. So this would be like, I was so stressed out about it, I couldn't even study. And I'm stressed out because I'm not studying. And the next thing you know, you're just studying. You're just getting ready for whatever. Or it could be in the reactions you get. I mean, the obvious one is you get a great test score. But along the way, you might see other changes, other different reactions that you get in the world.
Yeah, that are more sort of like smaller than a numeric value on a test score.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, I know that we all have our own good time of day to be most effective. What is a good time of day to do EFT? Is it at nighttime, before, like once you wake up in the morning? Is there a time that is best to practice EFT for most effective outcomes, of course?
I don't know that there is one answer to that. If you're more likely to do the tapping in the morning when you wake up, or right after dinner, or whatever it is, that's usually the one thing, is to actually do the tapping. That can be the block for most people, is I just don't get around to doing it. So whenever you're going to do it, it's going to be a benefit. But I don't know if you get the bigger results from mid-morning or from late at night. I kind of don't think that that's the case. I think you get the results when you hone in on the issue and tap with that front of mind. And for that, you have to be, I guess, awake, but it's not specifically timed to the time of day.
Yeah. So it should really be at a time then. Is it safe to assume, like, you do, just like when you meditate, you can't have a million different things going on happening while you do the tapping? Or is it you can do it whenever?
I'd say it's better to be able to focus on it, because what the tapping is doing is going to whatever you've got front of mind. So if front of mind is, I got to go get some groceries, I mean, that's what you're tapping on, even though you might be saying something else. You want to be focused on the thing. So yeah, if you've got a million things going on, maybe find a time where you can be a little more on your own, quiet, to focus.
Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. I think we are over time. But Nancy, this was amazing. I know our community is going to find tremendous benefit from this very short session together. How do people find you? And if they want to, connect with you, how do they go about doing that?
Sure. Well, you can always go check out my website, unblockresults.com. If you want to have a chat with me, you can send me an email, nancy@unblockresults.com, or there's a place where you can contact me to set up that call. But also, if you just want to try out a little more tapping, I've got a quiz that you can take. It's for women business owners, but you can take it for the fun of it anyway, even if you don't see yourself as that at this moment. And once you've taken the quiz, you get access to 3 tap-along videos that I've recorded for you that will take you through releasing a block in each one of those areas of mindset, visibility, and profitability. And to do that, you just go to unblockresults.com/SIA.
Oh, amazing. And I also, for those that are still online with us, I put the link in the chat. I know we have audiences on Instagram. So if you are interested, just go to our YouTube channel, See Admissions, and you can see the link there. Nancy, this was amazing. And I know that we also have future women entrepreneurs who are going to experience some of these things and will want some support. Oh, and actually, let me post I see the quiz. 1 second. I will post this on live as well. There's a comment here that says, thanks for sharing these tapping techniques, Nancy. This was really great. So amazing. People are loving it. And thanks. And you guys are welcome. I'm super glad that we were able to have this session. And Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time. This was really helpful. It relaxed me in the process of doing this as well. So multiple benefits.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Susan.
Excellent. Guys, I will see you on Thursday. Please don't forget to register for our resume development session. You can see the link to that in the comments of our YouTube page. And of course, just go to our siaadmissions.com/events to register for our future events. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.